studio let the artists be artists.
Yeah. What are the like practice that helps you to do your job as a story artist?
So my answer is gonna be weird, I think.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. You know, what would I change? What would I do if I could? If I had
Yeah.
unlimited time, unlimited budget?
I
I wish I was like that. I'm like the opposite. I see the work and I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome, and then I immediately go to.
Sometimes, oh, is this my style? Like, is it too simple?
Right.
Is it too much?
Does that ever go away though?
I don't know.
Right? But it's the same exact thing that I think about. Is like, okay, I want to capture the feeling.
How do you keep that like same like how do you say like the feeling that you get the first time like into the storyboard? Like, do you like?
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. I think I personally like that's one of the thing also when I make my own personal work or illustration or concept art. Like when I draw thumbnails and then I'm like, oh yeah, like this is like things that I want to do, like, and then this is the feeling that I want to capture.
Right.
And sometimes I lost that feeling. I'm like, shit, I gotta go back and I try to bring it again, and then that's like consistent like a challenge for me too. So,
right. So, how do you do it? What's your?
Man, so like in the past, I try to do different like ideas with the same theme.
Right.
So I remember there was a theme where I worked on for 3 years. Like I was so obsessed with this idea of this robot holding umbrella, and there's a duck character. And it's like a raining background is raining.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like holding umbrella for his like friend, like his like only friend. It's kind of like
that's cute.
that kind of like the idea. And then I was trying to like working on more realistic way or like more cartoony way or different composition. Like it took me 3 years to figure out. And then I'm after like, oh, I got this. I feel like this is the one that I'm really looking for. For now, I think at the time I was a student, I was inexperienced, so it took time to like play around. But now where I'm more experienced, I try to do much more thumbnails and try to get more compositions, and also just do really like scribbles too, like really just quick scribbles and try to get the shape of the character.
Yeah.
And then I don't really think about the details, just the shape of the character is fun. Okay, that's perfect, like.
Right.
And then I try to move on. And then try to stick to that design. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you find that basically your first few ideas are kind of the ones that end up you want to stay with it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like
I do that too.
Yeah, the feeling. I think it all depends on the feeling for me. So.
Yeah. I could like that's so funny. Like we do different.
Yeah, we do different.
But it's the same exact thing that I think about. Is like, okay, I want to capture the feeling of what this wants to be, right?
Yeah.
If it's an action thing, I want it exciting.
Yeah.
If it's sad, I want it sad.
Yeah.
And like, how do I get that feeling out there? And usually, like at this point, I think the first image or two that pops into my head, as long as it kind of edits together nicely, that's usually what I go with, because that's the thing that I thought of that if I read it and it hit me, and I thought of a visual that's conjuring up something, and that I want to send that out in the boards because like that's gonna hopefully make someone else feel that way.
That's the thing. I feel like. I think as an artist, I think I don't know about you in the past, but I think for me in the past, I struggle with that about the feeling side. Like, I mean, definitely let's say there's a feeling that I want to go for. This is it. I go for it. But sometimes I have a doubt. Like, hey, is this right?
Yeah.
Is there more? Like, will there be better? Or maybe this is not the right one. Like I have that like ups and downs, like while I'm working on my painting or illustration. And sometimes, is this my style? Like, is it too simple?
Right.
Is it too much?
Does that ever go away though?
I don't know.
Right? Because like I don't think it goes away.
So I think I'm still working on it, and so I think that's one of the also very fun part. At the same time, it's really challenging for me too. Like, so. Like there's a thing that I really admire in terms of style. So let's say this is the style I'm looking for, and this is something I want to do, but should I try something different? Like I always have something in my mind like, oh, maybe there's I could make it better, or I could, but it's really, I think nowadays I try to like trust my gut, try to go with it, but still I have that sometimes that,
Oh, I think the doubt, like, I mean, the one a blessing and a curse of working in television animation is that there's not really a lot of time to second guess it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the deadlines are so tight. You have to work so quickly that you just like I'll have those moments of doubt, and then I'll go, well, there's no time. I've already committed to once it's rough, especially once those roughs are in there, and if it's kind of working, there's no time to second guess. Now I just have to go, and I have to trust that what I started out with is gonna be okay enough, and then I try to get it better the next episode or the next thing, but it has, for better or worse, kind of like you don't have that time to doubt it too much, and sometimes that's freeing. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's great to be like, this is it. It's due in a week. I just gotta get it out the door. And sometimes you look at it and go, oh, I'll watch something that I did like back on television or something, and oh man, if only I'd boarded it this way, it would have been, it would have really got that. Oh, okay. You know, but you gotta keep it moving.
I think that that's the challenge. I think in the TV industry too. You know, like I think it's there's a limit of the time, and then you have to work with the time frame, and then you can. I mean, they hire you what you're good at, and you try to do your best, but sometimes definitely there's like always better ideas or better way to tell a story, and then, but I think that's one of the things I think also some artists also struggle, like some people are like have this, like we all like try to, looking for the perfectionism. People who have like, have that mindset of like perfectionism, they're like, oh, I'm gonna spend all night trying to find the best way to tell a story, or like find a best way to make nice illustration. But you have your life, and it's not just about art only. So you have to sort of like find the balance to do the best work as you can in the time frame, right?
Yeah. It's that same old quote, right? That like art isn't finished, it's abandoned. But like I think at a certain point you just have to let it go. And hope that it's okay. But it is terrifying because there's always that notion of like, oh, this could be better. Like this.
Oh my god.
Like
it's like endless.
Oh, it's like it's nice for me to hear that you struggle with that also, because I see your finished work, and it's like, oh, this is beautiful, and then it's like, does he just like oh yes, golden, it comes out plain perfect,
put some color in it.
But I think we all think that, right? Like I look at like artists that I like, story artists or whatever that I admire, and I'm just like, oh, how did they do it? Like they just must have like a magic brain. But I guess it is. They went
through the same struggle.
Everyone's doubting themselves at every step of the way.
Behind their back, like they're smiling, but you don't know what they're thinking.
The smiles hide the tears.
They're like, ooh. All right, so. Maybe also it will be also very cool to talk about maybe like what are the like practice that helps you to do your job as a story artist?
So my answer is gonna be weird, I think.
Oh, it's okay. But there's no perfect answer. I mean, there's no something like
I know
what like I think. This is really just mainly about your personal, like about Bram, what Bram will do,
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, my thing is like I feel like I watch movies. Like it's really, I love to watch and analyze and like dissect movies.
So when you say dissect movies, like do you analyze like?
Yeah, I mean, like what I love to do is I'll watch something, and if it's good or if it's bad, I love to dissect it.
Oh.
Wow. Like to just think of like, okay, well, why was it good? Why was it bad? Why did it make me feel this way? What was it trying to do? My favorite thing, honestly, like not as a viewer, but as an exercise. My favorite thing is when I come across a movie that's like it was close to making me feel the way it wanted me to.
Okay.
Or that like, but there was something missing. There was some like disconnect that
from the movie.
Yeah.
And then
like when the movie is just okay. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see a movie and you go like, all right, that was good, and then you kind of walk away.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite movies to dissect because then I go, well, why? What could have happened here to make it something that really stuck with me? What would I change to make this resonate with me? You know, how can I make this better? And then I'll go on, thought tangents of. I don't really draw that much.
You don't draw. It's more like your more internal thinking process. Like why this movie is like this? Why I feel this way? And then if you find that something is missing, you really try to find that solution in your head.
It's one of those things where I go, okay, well, what if we just changed? What if the main character was actually the supporting character? What would that movie be like? And then sometimes that leads you in a different perspective, and then you go, oh my god, the movie would, if it's actually about that this is maybe a tangent or whatever. But this excites me, so it's fun.
Of course, you just do whatever.
But one thing I did the last time I watched the Star Wars prequels.
Okay.
Right? That like, the thought that actually my wife does this with me too. Like she really. Like her and I will go on these tangents, and she'll allow me to do this, I guess. Okay. Like I think she likes it too. We'll go on these tangents together of what would the movies be like? Like how can we make it better? What would be interesting? And we watched the Star Wars prequels recently, and she said, "Do you think it'd be a better movie if it was Padme was the main character instead of Anakin? You know, if it was her trilogy and not his?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it would." Because then suddenly, instead of the story being, here's this boy who has like magic blood, and then he's just not allowed to feel emotions, and then he gets like stifled until it's all dark side, right? That's the story of the trilogy. But what if the story was, here's this queen of she's a 14-year-old queen of a planet, and she needs to make these like political decisions for her people, and she gets wrapped up in this like Jedi Sith conflict, and what's her story here? Like what does she want to accomplish? What's she doing? And if we were more removed from that stuff that kind of feels a little bit clunky about those movies, maybe that like the original Star Wars, we don't get into the minutia of the Jedi, and maybe that's okay. Maybe we never needed to. Maybe it's more about the, like, what would her struggle look like while she's seeing this from afar? What's her perspective of this, like, Jedi crumbling, and how does that affect her planet, and how does that affect, the politics of it?
I see.
I don't know. So those are the kind of tangents we'll go on. And then I love to think about, how does the story change? How would I feel about, so now when we have the moment of, Anakin fighting Obi-Wan, if it's from Padme's perspective, is that more interesting? Is it that now she's seeing her husband like fighting for his life, and he's destroyed everything that they've built together, and I don't know. And
you just kind of gotta keep going and going.
Yeah,
right?
I love those exercises of thinking about how to, how can this grab me a different way? How could we take it?
Into different perspectives.
Yeah, and sometimes too, movies that are kind of okay. I sometimes feel like a lot of blockbuster movies that come out, sometimes it feels to me like the scripts were done because they got to move it along. You know what I mean? I sometimes feel like...
You can feel that, right?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes there are blockbuster movies that when they come out and you see them and you kind of go, oh, yeah, that was fun, I liked it. Sometimes the script kind of feels like, oh, that was the second draft of the script. And then whether that's true or not, that's sometimes how I feel about these movies. That it's like, oh, if they just did like one more draft, what would if they tweaked this little thing, what would that change? I don't know. That's what I love to do, is like watch movies, analyze them.
I think we do. I think since we work in the industry, we understand how the process. The companies, they're always working with budget.
Of course, yeah.
And then obviously they want to make a good show. They want a good movie. But there's always that money, you know.
Yeah. Well, and they're on a timeline. Like somewhere along the way, someone said this movie is coming out, you know, July 2020. And then that date is set because that studio, that's what they're releasing. That's what they've invested, and they need to see the return on their investment. And if they don't release the movie, they have an empty slot where they could be making money.
Yeah.
So for sure, you can see, you know, I'm not trying to come down on the filmmakers in any way, because I definitely have been on the other side of it, where it's like, I wish we worked on this episode for twice the amount of time, but we rushed it out the door, and it is what it is. It's not like me trying to indict these like people that are behind it, but it's just interesting to me to think of, you know, what would I change, what would I do if I could, if I had unlimited time, unlimited budget.
I think this is a good point. I mean, I don't really necessarily do like analyzing movie, but I think as a story person, I think this is really good practice, you know, like.
I hope so.
Yeah, to understand really like deeply about what's the director's intention, what they're trying to do, what this movie is about, you know, like all the things. So.
Yeah, and then sometimes like the themes of the movie is like, well, you know, this is a film ultimately about, you know, love or loss or whatever, like big themes.
Right.
Is every scene supporting that? You know, are we seeing that in all the like a movie like Whiplash. Have you seen Whiplash?
Yeah, I watched it on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's very intense.
It's very intense for sure.
Yeah.
But every scene is about drive.
Yeah.
Right. That whole film is just about this one guy's drive to be the best drummer ever, and everything supports that. There isn't a scene in that movie. I can't think of a scene in that movie that doesn't hit that theme of like he is driven, he wants this thing, and it's about that artist.
And even the teacher there, like he was so like harsh on him. Like I remember, like
but him too. Like he's this driving force of, and every scene with him is about this character kind of being tested as to what he's willing to do to achieve his goals, and everything's about that.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, that's just first thing that popped in my mind is a great example of a theme being explored really, really well throughout.
I think it was a great film. It was a great film. Yeah, I watched it. I think when I was in Vancouver, and then it was like, man, it's an intense movie, but like I could understand exactly what they're trying to say. And what the character's about.
Right. So, and it's a pretty simple story, but it's so effective.
It is. Yeah. Is there artists that you like, or is there artists that you recently find? Like, maybe is there an inspiration that you recently find, and then maybe, you know, is there something that you're using it for your own personal project, or even for the in-house project? So maybe you could talk about a bit of that.
Yeah. Sure. Shouldn't be a surprise. My biggest obsession right now is the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider. I mean, like
the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been on a deep dive of like I want to see every piece of work that went into this film because I love it. I love like everything about that movie.
Yeah.
So I've like looking up all the board artists that worked on that, and there's some like amazing work.
Are you talking about the one that is like really looks like a like a cartoon?
Yeah, the animated.
Like
Have you seen that?
Yeah, you're talking about the one that is. There's one I watched was like the whole like the movie looks like a comic book.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you're talking
That's
about.
the one. Yeah.
Oh man. I was blown away by the I mean I'm like more attracted by the art, so
but all of it.
The art direction is like I'm like this is incredible.
Yeah. I mean that movie is that's a great example of obviously a studio let the artists be artists.
Yeah.
You know, they trusted that they had Spider-Man, they had Lord and Miller, they had a great team, and it seems like they trusted them to make a great film. And you got like just this incredible, like I don't know, like everything about it from top to bottom. It's so artistic. It's so incredible. It's like it's mainstream and yet it's so artsy.
Yeah, it is. I was like they're like using some like a typography like tags like boom boom boom, and then I'm like, man, that works.
It's so cool. And then like the way that they use, like sometimes they'll do like the comic book panels.
Yeah, comic
and like
panels.
the way they did it to accentuate the moment
Yeah.
as opposed to just kind of doing it because you can.
Yeah.
But like just the choices that they make in that is so great.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I've been on a deep dive of Spider-Verse and just like.
Or did you also try to like analyze some scenes and shit? Oh,
yeah,
you do.
Of course. But then it's hard because in Spider-Verse I watch it and I'm just like, oh, teach me.
yeah. It's more like I gotta learn something from it.
Yeah. Well, and that's great too, right? Like I was talking about movies that are only okay or bad, but like then you get gems like that movie and it's just I just want to learn everything about it. I want to know why they did what they did and how they did it. And anyway, that's going back to the analytical of it all. But I love that. So
no, I think that's just like like you're just being you. Like you're really just kind of like who you are. Like when you look at something. Like I mean, like I feel like even like when I work in my art team, like everyone has different personality. Like even though each one of us they draw like amazing like art, they come up with great design. Some people have amazing like ideas about like whatever they're making, and they have different style, color, amazing. Yeah. But each of us have different personality. So I feel like. Yeah, I think I'm sometimes being analytical, like like try to analyze things. Like like I also, I look at different artists and then I look at different movie. Let's say like Spider-Man too. Like say, I think about like look at the look at the shot, look at the light, look at the color, like choice of color. They're very paintery style. At the same time, they also add a texture like the comic book. So I love that, and then they somehow make it amazing with the like animation and with the special effect. Yeah, it works everything like really well. So like,
and it forms this whole like cohesive thing that doesn't feel like anything else.
Yeah, like there's nothing I can criticize. Like,
I know. Yeah, that's how I feel.
So I definitely do that too.
In terms of board artists, like I think my favorite board artist right now. But like I love to look at his stuff, and on Instagram he's always posting like videos of like animatics of his work.
Oh really?
Is it Ian Abando?
Okay. Where's working or where's from?
He works all over the place, but he's worked
at freelance artist.
He's worked for Illumination and Sony. I think he's worked for Sony.
Okay.
I don't know. He's all over the place. I feel like he's hired all the time. He's just like, I worked on this movie and this movie. But he'll post like these great animatics
every day.
And I just love the way that he draws the way I wish I could draw.
Really?
With his boards. His boards are so expressive and they're so loose, but they're so clear.
Wow.
Anyway, he's what I aspire to be in a lot of ways.
Well, no, I feel like like that's the thing. I think you mentioned exactly what I was looking for. Like I think. As an artist, we do have like different tastes. You have that artist that you like to be, or like, I want to do something like this, what he does, and then I think that's the exciting part about our career. We're always, there's always like artists, in everywhere, doing their own thing and making awesome stuff. So. Yeah, I also like go on Instagram, like checking out their stuff, like like this time like they post this kind of stuff. Oh, that's cool, like it's like it's not just for me. Like, it inspired me at the same time, like how do I say, like it really like relaxed me too. At the same time, like it's like this is nice, this is beautiful, like this is awesome. Like like when I see like beautiful work, like it really like just. It's kind of meditate for me. Like it's really. Oh man. Yeah.
I wish I was like that. I'm like the opposite. I see the work and I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then I immediately go to, am I gonna be this good ever? Like, how do I do this? Why can't I do this? I get so internal. Like I wish it made me just go like, wow, this is great. And then and then I have to fight myself and go, okay, well, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, let me, sorry to stop you, but he is older than us, right? Like, I mean, like he's like probably like 40.
For the artist, I don't think so. I think he's like younger than me.
Oh.
Yeah. He's just
really?
like
Okay.
I think, but he's or around my age. Like he's pretty young. And he's just killer. I don't know. He's like a crazy talent.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. Most artists, whether it's experience or if it's age or whatever, everyone has a story and no one knows.
That's right.
I think everyone presents, in real life and online, this like version of themselves, and something that people never talk about is the struggle of it all.
That's something, yeah.
Which I think it's got to be inherent, right? As an artist, like there's that struggle of you're always, no matter how great you are, or how good you are, or how employable or whatever, you're always kind of trying to. You're like, okay, but what about that?
Yeah.
Like you're just trying to reach for that next improvement in yourself, I think, right? Like, and
it's like a hustle.
the hustle for sure. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, it's so easy to see people that are at that place where you want to be, and just go, oh man, like they must have like a magic lamp that they that they made a wish. But no, like they struggled, they worked hard, and they got to where they are. Yeah. And if I did the exact same thing because I'm me and I'm not that person, my art would look different, and that's just that's the beauty and the frustration of it all at the same time, is that like you are you, and the best artists are the ones who are individual. So you want to be inspired by those people, but then you want to make sure that you're not copying those people. Because then what's the point? Then you're just.
But I think also at the same time you kind of like, having that person, or seeing someone like that, you kind of feel also motivated. You feel like, oh yeah, like I want to make it better, or you want to practice something better. So like. It's for me. I think I have that same thing. It's not just for me. Like obviously there's. I mean I appreciate art in general, so that's how I say it like that. But obviously like sometimes if somebody did some different style or cool things, I'm like, oh, I wonder how this guy did. Like, I love this style. Yeah. And then I'll sometimes I practice their style too. I mimic their style and try to understand why this looks so appealing to me.
Right.
And then I try to copy, and then try to copy the shapes or copy the design, because people like there's a design sensibility that maybe I can't have. Maybe it's all about individual, so they have a different emotional level, different sensibility, so maybe that's natural for them. But maybe I want to try to learn those kind of things,
you know what, like I should do that. I don't, like seriously, because I don't really like I look so much at the final product that like it probably would be a good exercise for me to when I look at these board artists that I admire, especially if their style is different than mine. That like I should be like trying to break down like how like what they're doing. Like, can I draw like them? Like I don't think about it as much because. For me, it's like the drawings are just I think I said before, it's like the means to an end. It's like the drawings are never meant to be really seen, but at the same time, like their drawings are amazing, and I'm inspired by their drawings, so I should
just give it a shot.
I'm gonna get deep. I'm gonna get fancy.
No, like can go deep and like we can go up to the sky.
In my career, I was so career focused. The struggle for the job, employable, and that people are liking what I'm doing.
Right.
I wasn't focusing on the things that like I loved in the first place, and I need to do some stuff for me. Oh, you think this is what we want, as opposed to what do you want? What am I really trying to preserve? Is it my ego, or is it the work? I think the most important thing is with story art